All supreme audit institutions are organized in what we call INCOSAI, the International Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions. This organization has existed since the 1915s and brings all SAIs together in a global network of peers. We in the IDI are basically the body that are charged with actually supporting all supreme audit institutions in developing countries, in developing their skills, their capacity and their performance. And that's a large number of SAIs. More than 140 SAIs are basically of the SAIs eligible for IDI support.
So as IDI provides support to auditors and audit institutions, we play a very humble role in making difference to the lives and livelihood of citizens.
So we are working on a climate change adaptation audit. We are planning it right now, and then we will invite SEIs later in this year to join us for doing this audit. And climate change adaptation is, of course, a very important issue for any country in the world.
I feel that audit institutions in very challenging situations are the ones who needed the most support, and that is what we always try to do at the IDI. But there are instances where we are not able to pursue our support for audit institutions because of certain political situations, including issues around independence of supreme audit institutions, including the appointment of Auditor General.
We, I hope, make a lot of difference by strengthening the SAIs, and then the SAIs by extension also support the citizens in their country. They try to make a difference in the lives of citizens. So that's why it's so important, the work that we do, because in the end it's about making countries better in terms of governance.
We also have a very important audit on elimination of intimate partner violence, which has been a very big issue during the COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen that, and it's also a public health crisis that is ongoing in terms of violence against women.
Now, working for IDI, that's a real privilege, I must say, because one gets to, first of all, meet people from all over the world. I mean, the diversity is such that you have people coming from all over the world.
I'd say the best thing of working with IDI is probably the people and the sensitivity that we find around here, both from management and colleagues.
The most exciting thing about IDI is the people I work with and the concept, the idea that we're working for. We're supporting people all over the world.
When I switched from the private sector consultancy, it allowed me to focus on one type of organization, work internationally, and work especially with developing countries. And it gives me an opportunity to make a real impact and make the world better.
It's been 2 times that I have had maternity leave while working for IDI, and it's been great. I mean, I can be myself. I can take the time that I need every single day to help my family and then come to work.
As an IDI gender champion, I make sure that whatever work we're doing within the department where I'm working takes into consideration both gender issues and also inclusiveness issues.
I think teamwork in IDI is very important, and for all my tasks I am working in teams, and I really enjoy that, and I think reflecting and bouncing ideas with someone else always make the product better.
It's a very flexible environment in which I feel comfortable and I can, move forward in my professional, personal and family life.
Well, with the family, I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, the environment is so good for the kids. It's very safe. This place is very green. The kids are always able to go out, and it feels really safe. So that's a big plus.
It is the colleagues at IDI that makes it very special. There is a genuine respect one feels, and also they value the work that you do. That makes this place really special. I come from a very small town in southern Tamil Nadu in India. I live in the western suburb of Oslo. The people I work with are all around the globe. I work for IDI.
I am from Germany. I live in Madagascar. The people I support are in Madagascar, and I work for IDI.
I'm from Tunisia. I live in Sousse. The people I support live in Arabic-speaking countries, and I work for IDI.
I work for
I
IDI.
work for IDI.
I work for IDI. I work for IDI.
Enjoy enhanced assessments with INCOSAI PMF. To ensure world-class support to Supreme Audit Institutions, SAIs, the INCOSAI Development Initiative, IDI, is updating and expanding its tools and resources. The SAI Performance Measurement Framework, SAI PMF, the essential tool for SAIs to assess and benchmark their performance, is going online, making it easier to use than ever before. The new application is aimed at ensuring rapid, high quality, and efficient assessments. From planning to scoring indicators and reporting on assessment results. Integrated guidance and access to templates. Templates for key steps and guidance make each stage of an assessment more convenient. Indicator scoring. SAI PMF indicators, dimensions and criteria are integrated. Support in writing and result comparison. Information can be exported to Word files, making it easier to assemble the performance report and analyze performance changes across assessments. Virtual collaboration, information sharing and security. The app makes sharing information across a team easier, but security of information remains paramount. The INCOSAI PMF contributes to effective, accountable and inclusive Supreme Audit Institutions that enhance performance and capacity where it's needed.
Citizens need well-functioning SAIs that deliver value and benefits. Well-functioning SAIs need professional SAI auditors who are able to deliver high-quality ISAI-compliant audits in the public interest. To achieve this, professional education is needed. INCOSAI has developed the competency framework for public sector audit professionals at Supreme Audit Institutions. There is a clear blue ocean of opportunity to create professional competencies for SAI auditors. Casey is a SAI auditor who has experience and needs education in applying the standards. Tara is a new SAI auditor recruited from the private sector. She needs to understand SAI context and auditing in the public interest. The Professional Education for SAI Auditors pilot introduces a new option for SAIs professionalising their workforce. PESA Pilot is a professional education initiative based on the competency framework for public sector audit professionals at Supreme Audit Institutions. It is based on an innovative concept of EAR, Education Assessment Reflection. The PESA Pilot will be delivered online through self-paced digital education supported by social learning. After the education is complete, there is an online competency-based assessment, with the questions based on case scenarios to demonstrate application of the education. Participants who are successful in the assessment will receive competency-based certificates. Reflection runs throughout the education and assessment. Participants are constantly encouraged to understand and apply the concepts to their own work by asking 3 questions. What is it? Why is it important? And what do I do? PESA-P has 3 streams: compliance, financial and performance audit, with 2 cross-cutting competency papers. The 2 cross-cutting papers are Provide Value and Benefits to Citizens and Behave Professionally. The functional streams will develop deep subject matter expertise in compliance, financial or performance audit. Concepts such as ethics, communication, quality and documentation will be followed throughout the audit process. Participants will complete an initial development portfolio to link their education to their own environment. PESA-P is a relevant, credible, scalable and inclusive initiative that will be offered in English to all INCOSAI regions. Professional auditors, professional size. Results of the pilot will inform the continuance of the initiative. For more information, visit www.idi.no/en/PESA pilot.
As auditors, we are used to measuring and accounting for our assets. And as all leaders of Supreme Audit Institutions, SAIs, know the SAI's biggest assets is its people. And yet, data from the 2020 INCOSAI Global Stock-Taking Report shows that SAIs across the world are facing different challenges in human resource governance. Only a third of SAIs consider their staffing levels and competence to be adequate. Less than half of SAIs worldwide have control over staff salaries, and only about 60% can recruit freely. What's more, many SAIs also lack a strategic approach to human resource management, HRM, and working ethics mechanisms. And with women only representing about 40% of senior management on average, SAIs still have a long way to go in creating inclusive workspaces. So how do we make sure that SAIs attract, secure, and develop their staff in a way that enables them to achieve quality in their work, generate results for citizens, and lead by example? And furthermore, how do we do this in a sustainable, inclusive, and ethical way? By working together. IDI's Together initiative enables SAIs to develop responsible, inclusive, and ethical governance of their staff. It addresses relevant needs, challenges, and opportunities in HRM, ethics, gender, and diversity across SAI's level of varying maturity, institutional models, and socio-cultural contexts. In fact, by building on existing experiences inside and outside the INCOSAI community, Together helps SAIs to lead by example in how they manage their workforce. In this way, SAIs can contribute to tangible changes in public sector accountability, integrity, transparency, and inclusiveness. The initiative offers support to SAIs in 3 components: HRM fundamentals for SAIs, SAIs and ethics, and gender-responsive and inclusive SAIs. Delivered in a blended format with both face-to-face and online activities, Together doesn't just provide conceptual learning on HRM basics and related considerations. It offers opportunities for real-time, concrete application, and SAI-level organizational change. It will empower SAIs to assess their own situations and develop tangible actions to bridge gaps and practices in managing their workforce, both in the short and long term. So, who are we targeting? Well, the audience is diverse. HR practitioners, SAI leadership, audit managers, and staff involved in strategic management. And where? In all SAIs, everywhere. If your SAI is interested in joining or contributing with its experience to the Together initiative, please contact us today. Together, it's how we make a difference.
leadership is not a designation, not a stage. It is a journey.
In 2017, 25 SAI Young Leaders started a journey of personal discovery and growth with IDI. Their strengths and weaknesses were identified. Each had different skills to evolve. One might develop an algorithm for empathy. Another might improve their coaching expertise. On these individual journeys, they supported each other to grow as leaders. They developed a community of trust.
It was just marvelous to work, to have a broader vision and to have friends from all over and to exchange information, audit information, so that not only they both benefit from the projects, but the rest of the people around them, working with them, trying to perform projects that are going to benefit the office and also the society of our country.
Outstanding leadership is always at the forefront of transformation. Whilst the SAI Young Leaders were growing as individuals, they created change strategies with real-world challenges within their SAIs. From design thinking to digital solutions, communications to value chain reporting, they have implemented new approaches to enhancing capacity and performance. Now they continue their journeys, adding value not only to their own SAIs, but to the whole community.
To be a SAI Young Leader means that you are believing in change. You actually have to become an agent of change.
This initiative has been so successful, it will be running again with a new cohort. IDI has truly seen that changed SAI Young Leaders change SAIs.
Supreme Audit Institutions, or SAIs, provide a check on government's use of public resources through regular audits of government budgets and expenditures. They are a key component of a government's accountability system. To fulfill their functions and hold governments to account, SAIs must be seen as trustworthy, and to gain that trust, they need to be seen as independent from the government and protected against outside influence. The International Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions, or INCOSAI, has issued 2 documents that are internationally accepted as the main reference points for SAI independence. The Lima Declaration of 1977 determined the principles of independent public sector auditing, and that every country should have a SAI whose independence is guaranteed by law. In 2007, the Mexico Declaration introduced the 8 principles of SAI independence. These include: 1. The independence of the SAI must be recognized by the Constitution and legal framework. 2. The process to appoint, reappoint, or remove heads of SAIs should be independent from the executive. 3. The SAI needs to be able to count on a mandate to conduct its audit processes without interference from the executive. 4. The SAI should have unrestricted access to the information required to do its audits. 5. The SAI should not be restricted from reporting on its audit work and should be required to report on its work at least once a year. 6. The SAI should be free to decide on the content and timing of its audits and be able to publish them. 7. There should be effective follow-up mechanisms on SAI recommendations. 8. SAI should have financial autonomy and appropriate human and monetary resources. Without independence from the governments they are meant to audit, SAI's ability to act as credible and effective agents of accountability may be questioned. With independence, however, SAIs play a vital role in improving the way public resources are managed and in ensuring accountability. The audit work of independent SAIs contributes to improving public governance in key areas. These include assessing government's management of public policies, resources, and targets, preventing and detecting corruption by disclosing information on government functioning and suspicions of fraud, assuring that governments act according to the Constitution and law and are made answerable for their actions, enhancing citizens' trust, empowerment, and participation by sharing unbiased information. Most countries do have a legal framework that recognizes the SAI and its independence. However, independence can be challenged in two main ways. First, via restrictions to legal or de jure independence through amendments to the Constitution or audit legislation, and also by de facto challenges that happen in practice, even though independence may be guaranteed by law. For instance, let's say a SAI carries out a review on how government allocated the funds of a loan. It was contracted with an international organization to support small enterprises during the COVID-19 crisis. During the audit, the government refuses to give the SAI the names of the enterprises that received these loans, claiming reasons of national security. Principle 4, unrestricted access to information, may be guaranteed by legislation, but may not be the case in practice. More examples of independence challenges might be unjustified attempts to remove the head of a SAI, inadequate follow-up of SAI reports by the government or parliament, insufficient resources to adequately carry out their mandates, restricted access to information, the SAI being unable to recruit its own staff, and no platform to publish audit reports. In summary, SAI independence should be seen as a public asset of the country, making governments work better in favor of all citizens. In fact, research shows that when a SAI is controlled by the government it is supposed to audit, it can be used as a political instrument which can suppress rather than enhance accountability. So to effectively deliver on their mandates, SAI independence is vital. Independence challenges facing SAIs will vary according to the political, legal, and social context, and the strength of SAI leadership. IDI has a growing suite of support to help SAIs in their journey towards independence. These include the SAI Independence Resource Center, the SAI Independence Rapid Advocacy Mechanism, as well as advocacy and legal support to SAIs. For more information, visit us at www.idi.no.
The SAI Young Leader Program has a trickle-down effect of leadership in our SAI. Strong leaderships create new leaderships, and therefore a leading organization that contributes to the public administration's growth and consequently the country's growth. It becomes a true cultural change strategy that impacts our organization and hopefully the public sector. Strong support of the head of SAI has fostered diffusion of the experience not only inside our organization, but also in the media so that the message can come across as inspiration to others.
Hello, I'm Emine Arsos. I received the Transformation Award in SYL program. Today I'm going to answer some questions. Let's begin with the first one. If you could travel back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self? Yeah, good question. I would probably say it's not about you. Let go of what's beyond your control. Yes. And the next question. What transformation did you achieve in your SAI? I think I have contributed the most to the modernization of the communication style. For example, in the past, our main communication tools were our reports, but today we also take advantage of new media such as social media accounts, and moreover we conduct some surveys to be able to understand our stakeholders' needs and expectations. And the last question, how has SYL changed you? It is quite difficult to answer this question because I believe this program changed me in many ways. But the first thing I can say that it has changed my professional perspective, that right now I think real growth is possible only if I focus on the contribution I can make. So it's not about following my passion, but it's about the contribution I make. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Here is the first question. What was the innovation that you put in place? Well, in my project, we use coaching techniques and principles in the auditing process. One of the biggest innovations was to change our mindset about how we create public value, not only with the audit report, but in the process, in the interactions with the audit team. For example, we applied the growth model, asking questions to the auditee about the goal, about the reality, about different options, and about the will and commitment to implement new alternatives. Also, we implemented the option solution model to encourage the auditee to find new feasible ways to deliver public service, increasing the commitment with the audit recommendations. Here is the second question. How has Sign Your Leader program changed you? This program allowed me to view myself like a true leader. The whole program invites you to reflect about what kind of leader you want to be. Today, I am more confident of myself, more aware of my strengths and capabilities. Also, I learned the importance of emotional intelligence in leading teams and how the self-awareness and social awareness are critical to manage people. And the final question is the following. If you could travel back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self? I love this question. I think it's worth asking yourself this question from time to time. I believe that a very good advice will be, don't be afraid to fail and to make mistakes, especially in new projects, in innovative projects. Also, I will tell myself, take more time to reflect and write the lessons learned, please. And finally, don't be so hard on yourself. Focus on your strengths and values. I mean, play your own game.
Hello, how are you? What did collaboration mean to you in the SIL community? The SIL community is not just the 2019-20 cohort. We are like a family. Collaboration for me meant supporting each other's growth, freely sharing knowledge and experiences, that fostered a creative environment. It also meant helping each cell achieve her or his goals. We listened to each other, respected our diversity and our opinions, and remained trustworthy and accountable. How has SIL changed you? Change for me started with the conceptualization of my change strategy and was concretized in Cape Town when I met Michael Henderson. He was able to uniquely challenge me while at the same time empowering and supporting me on my journey. He was able to demonstrate how fulfilled the persons did inspiring work in successful organizations. He equipped me with the tools to grow as a young leader and drive change in my side with emotional maturity. If you could travel back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self? I would say take all your chances, no matter what the circumstances are or how daunting success may appear. It is never a loss or failure. It is always a learning experience, win or fail. And travel often and enjoy, have fun. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is with great pride that I acknowledge and congratulate the SYL award winners, and especially my staff, Nakara Stewart and Kelisha Salmon. In creating an effective and impactful SAI, both ladies consistently demonstrated resilience and ensured their change strategy would become a catalyst and compass for change for SAI Jamaica. Through Nikara's initiative, SAI Jamaica benefited from the implementation of an information security policy, which has led to increased information security awareness and provided the SAI with an edge to transition to remote work with reduced risk of data breach. Our laptops are now encrypted, firewalls upgraded, and our server was recently acquired to improve the security of our databases. This improvement in our information security system aligns with the SAI's strategic direction and has positively impacted how we operate. In addition, we now have an approved project plan for Kelisha's initiative that will see us fully utilizing Team Central, a centralized tracking and monitoring system for tracking the implementation status of audit recommendations for each ministry, department, and agency. This mechanism will bolster the effectiveness of our audit processes, improve the communication of our results, and facilitate the SAI's assessment of its own performance and impact. As SAI Jamaica continues to navigate through these challenging times, the leadership qualities of both ladies have undoubtedly contributed to the management growth of the SAI through their own development on the SYL journey. My executive management team and I will continue to support them and provide mentorship as they shape into the future of tomorrow. I'm extremely proud of the ladies and the impact that the program has had on Kelisha and Nikaria. The development is evident. We cannot overstate our delight that Nikaria has copped the Collaborative Award SYL Award. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate all participants and award winners of the SYL program. Finally, congratulations to both ladies for a job well done. Thank you.
Gender counts. So, how can Supreme Audit institutions contribute to accounting for gender equality? Can you name a country that has achieved gender equality? Or a government that truly considers gender equality, intersectionality, and marginalized populations when spending its taxpayers' money? Gender equality and an understanding of intersectionality are the necessary foundations for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. But in fact, no country in the world has achieved gender equality. And sadly, gender equality is now sliding backwards. As external public sector oversight bodies, Supreme Audit Institutions, or SAIs, can play a vital role in tackling gender inequality and the different challenges that women and men face. To add value and benefits for all, SAIs need to apply a gender lens within the SAI as well as in their audit work.
So how do SAIs become gender-responsive organizations? The SAI Global Survey and Stocktaking Report reveals that in 2020, only 29% of SAI heads and 39% of SAI senior managers were female. Globally, only 24% of SAIs undertook gender audits over the past 3 years. And an even smaller percentage of SAIs have tried to mainstream gender across their audit work. Yet SAIs can lead by example, addressing gender inequalities from within and helping women to break through existing glass ceilings. SAIs can also collaborate with other organizations and agencies. The INCOSAI Development Initiative, or IDI, supports SAIs in becoming more gender-responsive organizations and in contributing to gender equality through their audit insights and recommendations. Other rich partnerships with stakeholders, such as UN Women and civil society organizations, can help SAIs hold governments to account, facilitate audit impacts, and communicate and advocate for gender equality.
How do SAIs and their audits contribute to the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development? The concept of leaving no one behind is at the heart of the Agenda 2030, with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Women and girls are often among those left behind. IDI encourages audits on SDGs, including SDG 5, which addresses gender equality and promotes women's and girls' empowerment. For instance, in 2018, 16 SAIs from Latin America and the Caribbean, plus the SAI of Spain and the Audit Office of Bogotá, reviewed how governments were prepared to implement SDG 5. Among them was SAI Costa Rica. As a result of their audit, the SAI asked the Costa Rican government to develop guidelines and conduct studies to accelerate gender action, and to improve the integration of SDG 5 targets into national planning. Today, the country has met more than half of those audit recommendations.
And what about auditing gender-based violence, which is also addressed in SDG 5? Globally, 1 in 3 women experience physical or sexual violence, mostly inflicted by an intimate partner. Emerging data shows that the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the situation. Gender-based violence bears huge personal, social, and economic costs. But have governments accounted for the increase in gender-based violence in their resource planning and spending? Some SAIs have been assessing gender-based violence in their countries. In an ongoing audit, the SAI of Uganda will assess the country's institutional framework in intimate partner violence and how it's being implemented. The fact that a SAI is bringing this issue to the fore is a significant step. And in Fiji, in 2019, the SAI tabled an audit report in Parliament on the coordination of actions on elimination of violence against women. A follow-up audit in 2022 will see how the government has addressed the report's recommendations, and then the full impact of SAI Fiji's audit will be determined.
So how do we continue to work towards gender equality? In addition to everything mentioned, SAIs can ask even more gender equality questions with an intersectionality lens. And here at IDI, to contribute to gender equality and inclusiveness for all countries, we'll continue to highlight inequalities and apply a gender lens in our work, with an ongoing commitment to our gender strategy and policy.
Let's all work together. We need to grow the list of governments that genuinely consider gender equality, intersectionality, and marginalized populations, to grow towards a world where women are not limited because they are women, towards a future where gender doesn't limit anyone, where no one gets left behind. It's time.
The Supreme Audit Institution's Performance Measurement Framework, or SAI PMF, is an INCOSAI tool that provides Supreme Audit Institutions, SAIs, with a framework for voluntary assessments of their performance against the INCOSAI Framework of Professional Pronouncements, IFPP, and other established international good practices for external public auditing. The SAI PMF framework provides even greater value if a SAI decides to follow up its first SAI PMF assessment with a repeat assessment.
The importance of a SAI PMF repeat assessment cannot be overemphasized. A repeat assessment facilitates comparison of the results of two SAI PMF assessments, enabling SEI management to understand how the SEI's performance has changed over a specific period of time. Over the past years, many SEIs from across the INCOSAI regions have conducted their first SAI PMF assessment, a development which is very impressive. As the operational lead on the global rollout and implementation of SAI PMF, the IDI encourages more SEIs to conduct a repeat assessment as a means of monitoring progress in performance.
88 SAI PMF assessments have been finalised so far, among which 11 were repeat assessments. IDI recommends conducting a repeat assessment every 3 to 5 years and conducting a repeat assessment towards the end of their strategic management cycle to monitor progress on implementation of the current strategic plan and to inform the new strategic plan. Learn how SAI Costa Rica and SAI Bhutan has utilised SAI PMF repeat assessments to manage their performance and visualise performance change. Ms. Marta Acosta Zuniga, Auditor General of Costa Rica, shares the positive experiences from conducting a SAI PMF repeat assessment in her office. Dasho Sharing Kazang, former Auditor General of Bhutan, describes how the findings from the baseline SAI PMF assessment helped the SAI in setting a strategic direction and scope further capacity development initiatives within the office. The internal assessment team from SAI Bhutan explains how conducting a SAI PMF repeat assessment enabled the SAI to monitor and demonstrate performance improvements compared to the baseline assessment. To support SAI PMF repeat assessments, IDI has developed the following resources: a toolkit consisting of a guidance, worksheets for analysing performance change, SAI PMF report template, a self-learning course to master the specifics on conducting a repeat assessment that can be accessed at any time and taken at your own leisure. IDI has experience in guiding SAIs through the SAI PMF repeat assessment process. Let us help you too. For more information, please visit IDI website or contact IDI SAI PMF team.
What if you could combine the collective knowledge of the world's leading audit institutions with the resources of global development organizations, creating something so impactful it could help foster improvements in more than 80 countries across the globe? We don't have to imagine. It's happened. The INCOSAI Donor Cooperation is a strategic partnership between the International Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions and 23 donor organizations. The corporation's mission is to support effective supreme audit institutions in developing countries that in turn provide effective oversight and transparency of public funds. Since its establishment in 2009, the corporation has enhanced the capacity of supreme audit institutions in developing countries all over the world through a combination of financial, technical, and peer-to-peer support. For example, in Georgia, the corporation supported the National Audit Office in enhancing auditor skills and delivering high-quality audits of the government's information technology infrastructure. In Madagascar, the corporation provided laptops, smartphones, video conferencing, and technical guidance, enabling the Supreme Audit Institution to substantially improve audit processes and verifications in remote areas, training and communication between auditors and international experts. And in Sierra Leone, the corporation's assistance led to unprecedented transparency in audit reports and facilitated real-time auditing of the country's response to Ebola. These are just a few examples of the benefits achieved through the corporation. If you want to learn more about the corporation, please follow us on social media or visit our website. Together, we are making a difference.
Independence is a precondition for any Supreme Audit Institution, or SAI, to carry out its mandate effectively. But a SAI's independence can be challenged in various ways. There may be attempts to remove the head of SAI, restrictions in access to information, or sharp cuts in SAI budgets. To support SAIs in responding to threats and breaches to their independence, IDI has developed the SAI Independence Rapid Advocacy Mechanism, the SIRAM. Now, what is SIRAM? SIRAM is a 4-stage process to provide a coordinated and timely advocacy response to immediate threats or breaches of SAI independence. Anyone inside or outside of INCOSAI, even the head of the SAI who's facing it, can report the threat or breach. SIRAM follows 4 stages. 1. IDI is informed of the threat. This can be done through various entry points and channels, by a SAI, an INCOSAI body, or a development partner. Before moving to the next stage in the opening of a case, the formal approval of the head of SAI is needed. 2. An assessment is carried out to see whether the situation is linked to an infringement of one or more of the INCOSAI principles of independence. IDI engages with a wide range of country and global stakeholders to understand the broader context, and then determines which tools can be used in the next phase. 3. Response. One or a combination of existing tools can be implemented, such as conducting an in-country advocacy visit, issuing a statement of concern, or supporting the development of legislation guaranteeing SAI independence. 4. Follow-up. IDI monitors how the response is being implemented and verifies whether other additional measures are needed. Let's see an example of how SIRAM can be deployed. The government of Norland has denied the SAI access to the documents needed to conduct an audit of the COVID-19 emergency response, despite the SAI's legal right to unrestricted access to information. The head of the SAI sends a request to IDI to initiate a SIRAM. Since it comes directly from the head of the SAI, the process moves to the assessment stage. Here, the case is assessed against the INCOSAI Mexico Declaration Principles of SAI Independence, drawing on information gathered from CSOs, development partners, MPs, and the Ministry of Finance. The assessment concludes that the SAI's independence has been infringed and that this situation can undermine the ability of the SAI to play its role in holding the government to account for its actions. As a response, a statement of concern is issued to raise awareness of the infringement of the SAI's independence at the national and global level. The impact of the statement will be monitored. IDI will keep doing this until the SAI obtains the necessary documents to carry out its audit. As Suzanne Wills of the European Commission said at the 13th INCOSAI Donor Cooperation Steering Committee meeting in 2020, Serum is fast and technical, not responding to the political context, but to the acts and facts. It refers to internationally respected declarations and agreements. It is a step on a long way to better governance and accountability. For more on Serum, go to www.idi.no. Or to report a threat on SAI independence, send a message to independent.sai@idi.no.
Welcome to Oslo, to this workshop on strengthening public oversight of extractive industries.
The INCOSAI Development Initiative is a global capacity development body of the International Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions. Annually, we support more than 140 SEIs in developing countries to enhance their capacity, performance, and impact. We serve as sort of a convening agent for the INCOSAI community, bringing together SEIs and key partners, hoping that this will also be taken down and bridged at the national level, not only at the global and regional level. To get effective and independent, strong SEIs, we need to partner with others. We consider the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative a key partner going forward.
We need really strong partnerships to drive positive developments. The governance, the transparency, the accountability of this sector is really crucially important. So we are delighted to work with the institutions that are meeting here today.
Speaking today with two hats on, one is chair of the EITO Global Board, but the other is as a goodwill ambassador for the independence of Supreme Audit Institutions on behalf of the INCOSAI Donor Cooperation. The Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, said, "Spend what you can, but keep the receipts."
The workshop is very useful. We have already several SAI heads, several stakeholders and partners. We take all the experience, we will use it in our activities.
I think this has been a particularly great opportunity. We might have a lot of challenges or when it comes to auditing, but we haven't realized that there are particular challenges when it comes to extractive industries.
I'm learning a lot more about opportunities for collaboration on fiscal transparency, and that has been a very nice experience to be able to be exposed and meet different stakeholders in the fiscal ecosystem and in the transparency space.
Extractive industries are crucial in developing countries. SAIs are in a unique position to contribute to accountability and transparency in the extractive industries.
Hi, I'm very pleased to be here. My name is Natalie Birch. I'm representing the INCOSAI Donor Cooperation, representing SECO Switzerland. The INCOSAI Donor Corporation is a collaboration between the global organizations of Supreme Audit Institution from 195 countries and development partners such as the World Bank and bilateral partners. Has recently created the new role of Goodwill Ambassador for SAI Independence. We are delighted to have appointed the Right Honourable Helen Clark to the role. Helen served 3 terms as Prime Minister of New Zealand, 8 years as UNDP Administrator, and is today engaged in several global initiatives, including the panel on pandemic preparedness and response, as well as the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. Thank you so much for joining us. You were an obvious choice for this role, but can you tell us more about the role and why you decided to take this on?
Well, thanks, Natalie. I do regard the independence of countries' audit institutions as extremely important in ensuring that there is effective oversight of countries' finances and the way in which they're spending their money. And it was on the basis that there were a number of worrying developments in this area around the world that the leadership group of the INCOSAI Donor Cooperation asked me to take on the role of being a global ambassador. The idea is that I would help lift this very important issue onto the global policy agenda, raise awareness and help mobilise support for supreme audit institutions which want to enhance their institutional independence. Now, every country on earth has a supreme audit institution, and their role, as I implied earlier, is to keep a check on how the government is using public resources, taxpayers' money, through regular audits. These institutions play a key role in what we might call the accountability ecosystem. That's that network of institutions which is established to hold governments to account. Now, unfortunately, not everywhere do supreme audit institutions have enough independence to fulfill this function fully. And overall, the trend of curbing their independence has been moving in the wrong direction. Recent research by the INCOSAI Development Initiative, IDI for short, and the World Bank shows that the supreme audit institutions globally increasingly face interference from the executive arm of government. That could range from perhaps the more subtle interference with regard to the level of oversight they have over budgets and organisations, or restrictions in access to information, but it could run all the way to very direct interference with the audit officer's role. We saw this recently in Sierra Leone, where the Auditor General and her deputy were both suspended from office shortly before the release of their annual report. This is very disturbing. Independent oversight is just so critical in any system. In democratic systems, it absolutely has to be taken as read that this will happen. And it's essential for building and keeping the trust of citizens in their governments. The trends we're seeing of curbing the independence of institutions sadly are linked to the increased authoritarianism we're seeing in governments across regions of the world. So, of course, I fully support the mission of the Development Initiative and its work to enhance the independence of the world's supreme audit institutions.
Thank you very much. I think not everyone is aware, though, of the work of supreme audit institutions and how vital really their independence is to their effective operations. In your role of bringing the matter of independence to the global audience, how would you describe SAI independence and the common challenges faced by supreme audit institutions?
Well, first, I think we can refer back to the set of principles which was established by INCOSAI and also recognised by the United Nations through 2 resolutions. And those principles include the principle of security of tenure for these statutory officials, Auditor Generals, their deputies, and independent appointment and removal processes of them. They include the principle of having unrestricted access to information and able to use their discretion in how they discharge their mandates. And they should have the ability, the freedom themselves to select the scope and the timing of the audit reports. Now, a recent stock-taking report published by the INCOSAI Development Initiative shows that the independence of our world's supreme audit institutions has been declining across most indicators in those kinds of areas that I just mentioned. And most notably, the institution's ability to access information that they need freely has declined a lot in recent years, as has their financial autonomy from the executive arm of government. I suppose it's not surprising that the COVID-19 pandemic has further exacerbated these challenges, as it's exacerbated many challenges around the world. The INCOSAI Development Initiative is also seeing a lot more requests for support through its rapid advocacy mechanism. That's a tool which can help respond to threats to Supreme Audit Office independence. The regional variation of these requests coming from around the world highlights the global nature of the pressure that Supreme Audit institutions are under. So when I am advocating on this, I will want to highlight specific cases, as well as always drawing attention back to these principles of Supreme Audit Institution independence, going from where it's working very well to where it's clearly been put under threat. And I'll be keen also to draw parallels with and connections to other relevant topics of global importance. For example, corruption. How are our Supreme Audit institutions able to expose that problem? How are they grappling with the issues of auditing for climate change impacts, gender equality, other issues? An independent Supreme Audit institution able to freely pick the scope and type of its audits clearly underpins examination of all these issues.
Thank you. And on that note, what methods are you planning to use to contribute to putting this issue on the agenda globally, and especially the countries where the lack of SAI independence is really a concern?
So I think there's a range of ways of doing it. Obviously very happy to address conferences and such events virtually, perhaps as we conduct this interview now, but also with the world opening up a little bit more, I hope in person, and through that kind of engagement to open these issues to wider audiences. I'm also personally very active in social media, which I find extremely useful as a way of reaching out to broader audiences. So I can amplify the messages around Supreme Audit Institution independence on the platforms that I have myself, and also deal with some lively discussions, I would think, going by what I often get back on my, for example, my Twitter feed. It's surprising in a way that the issue of Supreme Audit Institution independence hasn't had enough attention in global policy discussion around public financial management, anti-corruption efforts and upholding integrity. But this is changing, and the INCOSAI Development Initiative is obviously working very actively to build partnerships with a range of stakeholders, including civil society, both global and national, to support raising awareness on the issues and to create a bridge between what we might call different communities of practice on these issues. So I certainly look forward to supporting that outreach. Now, I think, again, we should take the opportunity of the problems that the pandemic has exacerbated to raise issues related to the need for financial oversight of an independent character. In response to the pandemic, there have been the most incredible flows of emergency funding deployed from national budgets from high-income countries to low-income countries. And as well, the international financial institutions have dispersed a lot of funding. People may recall the IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva saying at an early stage of the pandemic to countries, spend what you can in order to address the pandemic, but please keep the receipts. That's the issue, isn't it? Keep the receipts so the audit office can check what happened to the money. So these incredible flows of money around the world and within countries have put a spotlight on the need to support integrity systems like independent audit at the country level. Now, external providers of funding, and we're talking here our international financial institutions, regional development banks, bilateral donors, other big multilateral funds like the Global Fund or Gavi, there are so many, they rely on Supreme Audit institutions to audit the use of such funding as well. And we see Supreme Audit institutions globally doing their best to conduct spending audits into this COVID-19 emergency spending. What we know is that the risks of mismanagement and corruption will increase in times of crisis and pressure like this, and that the independence of the Supreme Audit institutions is just so important to keep that check on government finances during a crisis and beyond, and to hold government to account when they see a mismanagement or misallocation of funds. We have seen that in some countries, the publication of audits on this COVID-19 related expenditure is being delayed. In some cases, it seems clear this is due to direct interference from the executive arm of government. And of course, the follow-up of audit reports is a continuing challenge. So I hope that these are the kind of cases where I, as Goodwill Ambassador for the Supreme Audit Institution's independence, can add some value by highlighting the issues.
Thank you. And finally, maybe a more personal question. As Prime Minister of New Zealand, you obviously had your own experiences of working with the New Zealand Office of the Auditor General, but perhaps also in your role of leading the UNDP. Could you share with us which observations you will be bringing to the role based on personal and political experience?
So I spent 27 and a half years in the New Zealand Parliament, 9 as Prime Minister, 3 as a Minister, a bit down the ranks from that, and of course the other years as a Member of Parliament, both opposition and government. And in those capacities, you're very aware of the importance of the role of the Supreme Audit Institution in our country called the Office of the Auditor General. When you're an opposition Member of Parliament, the Auditor General's reports, of course, are pure gold because they'll always bring out something that's not quite right, whether deliberately so or it just happened that things weren't as good as they should have been. So for an opposition, and an opposition is also an important check in the democratic system, you come to take a great interest in the Audit Office reports. I have chaired a parliamentary committee. Parliamentary committees every year look at government expenditure. It may be done through sector committees and some through a particular finance and expenditure committee, but every government budget gets looked at. And again, the committees use these reports. They're extremely important. And then as Prime Minister, you also want to know that the money you're spending is being properly spent. So if Audit Office, for example, decides to do a report into a particular project or program and it doesn't come up smelling of roses, as we say, you want to know that because you want it fixed. And you will say, the Minister, fix that. We're not going to have that happening with public spending. So in New Zealand, the office obviously has a high degree of independence. The Auditor General is usually quite popular with the public and the media because the Audit Office is seen as speaking truth to power. It's just extremely important in a democratic system like the one I've been active in that this is so. So in a way, I hope New Zealand has a gold standard of Supreme Audit Institution independence. Now, when I went to UNDP for those 8 years, I took with me the background in New Zealand government. And New Zealand, in the normal course of events every year, will be ranked as first equal or second equal or somewhere like that in the global perceptions of corruption survey. And in other words, being first or second equal means you're judged to be the least corrupt in the world. So I took that very strong ethic of non-corruption and integrity in office to UNDP. And UNDP had a sizable governance portfolio. And in that portfolio, a lot of its programming was around trying to improve the capacity and integrity of public administration and supporting the institutions that did that. And what I became so aware of working in international development over these years was that there is a tremendous amount of diversion of financing from what should be going to public purposes. Tax revenue should be allocated properly, or flows of resources into public coffers from, say, extractive industries, where it never reached the target because someone was siphoning it off. And this deprives countries of the right to development. If you have, countless zillions of dollars of public money not being able to be spent for the purpose it should be able to advance human and sustainable development, this is a huge net loss. So if you can support the institutions that try to monitor this, and that includes our parliaments, it includes supporting the concept of a free media, and it includes these important statutory offices like Auditor General, like Ombudsman where that exists, and obviously also the whole system connected with the courts, the prosecutor function, the court function, and so on. So this was a very important aspect of the work of UNDP to advance integrity in public administration. And I was able to bring the background from New Zealand to that.
Thank you so much for so clearly highlighting the important work that SAI do, but also the need for independence, especially during crisis and difficult situations. And the INCOSAI Donor Corporation is extremely grateful that you accepted the role of independence ambassador. And I think SAIs need our support more than ever. And this appointment is extremely timely. And once again, we're very grateful and looking forward to a fruitful collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.